Hey guys, it's Jeff from Pressure Luck, and I am feeling super today. Literally, we are making soup. Why wouldn't we? It's the fall, it's like that time of year, and you know, I have an amazing acorn squash soup because I figured everyone has a butternut squash soup recipe. Let me do something a little different and do an acorn squash soup, which to me is one of the best soups I have. It's so delicious. But I had a lot of people saying, well, yeah, but we love that soup, but we really want a butternut squash soup too. Well, guess what? Because I love you so much, we're making butternut squash soup. Now, this is a soup I didn't eat as a kid. I just wouldn't eat it at the table because, you know, kids don't really like squash. I think it's hearing the word squash as a vegetable, it's not appealing. It's just not. I mean, maybe if you called it candy, butternut candy, I would have definitely tried it. But squash? Well, I'm a big boy now. I've grown up, and I gotta tell you, I'm kicking myself for not eating this as a kid because this recipe that I have here that I've come up with is one of the finest butternut squash soups I've ever had. It's so light, it's so delicious. It's just one of those soups that reminds you of the fall. As you sip it, you just feel comfortable. It's wonderful. And the best part, it's so ridiculously easy to make right in the Instant Pot. Nothing can make soup as good as an Instant Pot. I said it before, I'll say it again. So guys, I'm not sure if it is, but I'm going to hedge my bets. This is probably Barbara Streisand's favorite soup because guys, it's like butter. Let's go right to the Instant Pot and harvest some of the best butternut squash soup you've ever slurped. Alright, let's go to our Instant Pot and add the trivet inside, as well as a cup of water. And now we want to add in our butternut squash. Alright guys, now I'm using 2 pounds of this stuff, and luckily Costco and many supermarkets sell it where it's already cut up for you. You don't have to do anything. But if you don't have that option and you can only find whole butternut squashes, that's fine. Just take one, cut it in half with a good knife, scoop out the seeds and any of the stringy stuff in the middle, and then just lay it on the trivet in the pot. So lay all the butternut squash in the pot, and since I'm using the already pre-cut, pre-cubed butternut squash, I'm just going to lay it all on the trivet. Looks like cantaloupe. And there we go. Let's secure our lid. Make sure we're in sealing position, and let's come down to our control panel and hit the pressure cook or manual button depending on your model, and we want to go for 6 minutes at high pressure. Now while that's coming to pressure, I want to take care of chopping up some shallots, or I should say snapping them up. We'll begin with 3 shallots and dice it up. Now that the squash is done cooking, let's quick release. Now that the pin is dropped, let's take the lid off. And there is all of our lovely steamed squash, or pressure cooked squash, or pressure steamed squash, whatever, it's there. And now let's go back to the pot and then take a slotted spoon and remove our wonderful butternut squash, which is going to be very soft now and it's going to become kind of mushy, which is exactly how we want it. And just put it in a bowl and then drain all of the water that's in there and remove the trivet. And to make everything easier, you can actually just pull the trivet out from underneath all the squash, take a slotted spoon, fish out all of the squash, and just place it in a bowl. It's quicker that way. And it's funny, it really does look like mango or cantaloupe that's cooked. And then let's just clean out this pot by just dumping it down the drain. And then just set all of the squash that we scooped out and placed in a bowl aside for now. That's going to be coming in at the very end, the last step. Okay, and after we've drained our liner pot, we're going to add it back to the Instant Pot base, and it's okay if there's some remnants of butternut squash in there still. After all, this is going to be butternut squash soup. Alright, let's go to the next step. And now let's come back to our control panel and hit the saute function and adjust it so we're on the more or the high setting. To adjust on the Duo series, you hit the saute button over and over to adjust. On some of the older Duo models, you have to hit the button that says adjust to do it, okay? Just so you know. I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons or 1/4 of a stick of salted butter and a tablespoon of olive oil. And once the butter's melted and the oil's sizzling, let's add in our shallots. And then let's stir that around in the butter and the oil for about 3 minutes or so. Just until they're a little bit softened and slightly browned. And after a few moments of sauteing the onions until they're getting a little bit browned like this, looking great, we're going to then add in 1 tablespoon of crushed garlic. And we're going to stir that up for a minute in the pot with the onions. Just make sure you really give it all a good stir as the garlic is added so nothing really sticks to the bottom of the pot. And now let's add in our broth. I am going to add in 4 cups of broth, and I'm going to use 2 cups of chicken broth and 2 cups of garlic broth. Or you can use 4 cups of garlic broth or 4 cups of chicken broth, whatever you want. You can even use vegetable broth, but I'm using 2 cups of chicken broth and 2 cups of garlic broth. And then just give everything a good stir when you add that in there to make sure anything that might have been stuck to the bottom of the pot comes up. And now let's season it up with a tablespoon of seasoned salt, a teaspoon of black pepper, 1/4 of a teaspoon of white pepper. Now this stuff can be a little bit spicy, and it's not going to make the soup super spicy at all, but if you don't want it to be a little bit zesty, just leave it out, but I really love this in there. 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, A teaspoon of rubbed sage. This stuff kind of looks like dust bunnies, which is not the most appealing thing, but it smells amazing and it's gonna taste great. And a teaspoon of dried thyme. And let's mix all that up together nice and good in the pot. And then let's secure our lid, make sure that we're in sealing position. And then I want to come back down to my control panel for a third and final time and hit the cancel button just to go to reset the screen and hit the pressure cook button once again. And this time I want to go for 3 minutes at high pressure. And that's it. But Jeff, why can't we just pressure cook the squash right in the broth? Good question. First reason is, if you're actually cutting a whole butternut squash in half, obviously you're not going to do that because there's skin on there and everything, and you need to scoop out the meat. But we're not going to do it anyway, even if you use pre-cut butternut squash with the skin off, because I feel like squash is one of those things that cooks much better when it's steamed with a little bit of water and it's sitting on top of a trivet, other than actually being pressure boiled, if you will, in water. I really do think it makes a difference. Maybe it's an old wives' tale, but I don't have an old wife to ask, so that's just my opinion. I mean, if you want to throw the pre-cut in with the soup itself, go for it, and I would just go for like 9 minutes, but I think it'll be better if you do it separately. That's why I do it that way. And now that our broth is done pressure cooking, let's do a quick release. And our pin drop, so let's take the lid off. And there is our broth. That looks like a lot of onions right now, but don't worry, we're gonna do something amazing. First, let's add back in all of our fabulous butternut squash, and then just smooth it in there. And this is the best part, because now, if you have any anger or frustration in you right now, this is therapy, because we're gonna puree and blend everything up in that pot with an immersion blender. Now, if you love making soups, which I'm sure many of you do, because nothing can make soup like an Instant Pot, as I've said many, many times, this is an invaluable tool to have, an immersion blender, because you can blend directly in the pot, not having to transfer it to a blender, forget any of that. You can do it right in the pot with this. They're super affordable, and I'm gonna link to where you can get it in the recipe. Any household, anybody who loves to make soups should not be without one of these, all right? So let's lower our immersion blender into the soup and begin pureeing. There we go. And don't lift your immersion blender out until it stops, because watch, if you don't, look, it'll everywhere. You don't want to do that. That was actually not too bad, but you don't want that to happen. Just make sure the motor stops running when you're done, and it's going to look like this. This is the perfect consistency. This took maybe 30 to 45 seconds to get it there. Beautiful. All right, let's finish this up. I want to add in a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. You know me and that word. A half a cup of a heavy cream, or a half and half. And a third of a cup of grated Parmesan cheese. Let's also add in a tablespoon of white sugar. And now let's just stir everything together into the pot till it becomes nice and combined and nice and smooth. This is gonna be amazing. And I mean, look at the color of this soup. I mean, Barbara, hello gorgeous, am I right? And there we have it, guys. Some absolutely perfect butternut squash soup. Not too thick like baby food, but not too thin either. Literally, look at this. It's like just the right consistency. You see that? Look at how it just cascades off the spoon. And yes, I like using fancy words sometimes when I describe my food. Okay, let's ladle this into some bowls and get it served up. And there we go. Looking perfect. Now, if we want to top it off with a few extra things, we can. You could toast some of the seeds that came in the squash and drop them on top. You could put some croutons on there if you want. But I like adding a little bit of a pinch of some more rubbed sage, and a few more sprinkles of some of the dried thyme. And that, my friends, is a butternut squash soup. And look at this, all ready to go. Oh, the perfect consistency. Let's try it out. Now, when I was a kid at my Uncle Howard's house, I was never into this stuff. I was just like, I don't want to eat butternut squash soup. How robbed I was of all those years of amazingness, because guys, look at this. An absolutely beautiful, beautiful soup. Well, I can't wait. What a foolish child I was to skip out on that soup. This stuff is outrageous. It's a wonderful light flavor, and honestly, I don't think they call it butternut squash for nothing, because it has almost like a buttery, nutty flavor to it. Very light though, not overpowering. You know, the best way to describe a butternut squash soup, or this one specifically, is almost like a fall chowder, an autumnal chowder, because that's what it tastes like. I mean, if you wanted to add some corn to this, you could. If you wanted to add some clams to it, you could. It has a wonderful, like, fall harvesty chowder flavor to it, and the consistency could not be more perfect, because there's nothing I like less than getting a butternut squash or any kind of squash soup that's like a baby food, you know what I mean? But it's like super thick. You could like put wallpaper up with that stuff. No, not this stuff. This stuff is like amazing. This stuff is like Goldilocks just right in terms of consistency and flavor. sorry, I'm a little bit of a slob. An absolute home run, a wonderful compliment to my Acorn Squash Soup, and this definitely should be kissing your lips at some point this fall season, if not during Thanksgiving. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, check out PressureLoveCooking.com. I have tons of recipes there. They run the gamut from healthy to comfort, from vegan to carnivore, and it's so easy to find anything you want. I have a search bar, I have recipe categories. It's like the Container Store, but on a website. It's that organized. Go to Facebook.com/PressureLoveCooking and like that page for any time a new recipe comes out. You'll be notified. Make sure you click see first to see all the notifications, any tips, any deals on items. Great stuff there you don't want to miss out on, so definitely like that page. And of course, at Pressure Luck on YouTube, subscribe to me there because every video, just like this one, are all cataloged there. You can find them all easily. And of Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, I have all that stuff. Thank you so much again, guys. And Butternut Squash Soup. Shoop, shoop, shoop. I don't even know what this is. It's just so good. It's good. I'm at a loss for words. In fact, don't tell me not to slurp, just sit and putter. Life's candy and the sun's a bowl of butternut squash soup. Hey Barbara, it's waiting for you. Just invite me over. You don't even have to sing or anything. We can just slurp some soup and make some memories.